Yes, well now another place I visited in Germany was the mess of the Horseguards regiment, or whatever they call themselves. And they had a ceremony every year called the hanging of the brick. The brick consisted of a house brick uh, carefully tied together and suspended by a rope on a pulley, and every once a year they'd have the hanging of the brick ceremony, and they'd lower the brick down to the ground and then pull it up to the ceiling again with the pulley. Well, that was all very well, but a few years before I got there, they dropped the bloody brick, so it got broken too. So then they had to carefully tie up the two pieces together so they could continue with this nonsense. Anyway, that was the hanging of the brick. Now this particular sergeant's mess had all the officers' mess silverware, had crates and crates of it. And what happened was that during the 1930s, the officers' mess went broke. So they sold all this beautiful silverware some of it going back to the Battle of Waterloo. They sold it all to the sergeant's mess so they could raise some money, on the understanding that when they got financial again, they can buy it back again. However, the sergeants had different ideas about this. So, so when they got all the officers' mess silverware, and it's really a nice collection, they packed it all up very carefully and put it in crates. And when they went to a place like Germany, they took about a quarter of it and displayed it in the sergeant's mess. And when the officers came along and said, well, can we buy our silverware back again? Of course, the sergeant's mess said, no, you sold it to us. We're not going to give it back to you again. So they got bestraddled with stacks and stacks of magnificent silverware, which is crated up, a third or a quarter of which they have on formal nights. So that was the demise of the officers' mess when they sold their silverware to the sergeant's mess. So that's that little story. Now on one Anzac Day I was there in London. We had a sergeant's mess in London at Australia House, and we all went along to turn up for the Anzac Day, and of course more Horseguards, a different branch of Horseguards, they all turned up to wish us well for Anzac Day, and they gave us a great big box as a present. And oh, thank you very much. So we opened the box, and there was another box inside it. So we took that out and opened that box, and there was another box inside it, until it got down to a little box about the same size as a house brick. It wasn't a house brick in it though. So when we opened that one up, there was a little sign which said, "Some of our horse shit for your bullshit." And so we all had a good laugh over that. So we had a little box full of little box full of horse shit. So that's the end of that story.